that time. It's weather for Weather Geeks time on this Thursday evening. We have got so much to talk about over the next week that this video could very well be 15 minutes long, but we'll try to keep it a little bit shorter than that. So let's get right to it. It was the coldest morning of the season so far in parts of the area this morning. It was all dependent on cloud cover last night. The clouds hung on a little bit longer in eastern Mercer County, so temperatures did not fall below the teens in a lot of the I-79 corridor, but where the sky cleared out in our eastern Ohio counties, boy, did temperatures plummet fast last night. 13 downtown Youngstown here on our roof, at our downtown studios, 4 in Columbiana. I live in southern Columbiana County, and one of my weather stations registered a 0. The other weather station I have is elevated. It's kind of up on the roof. It tends to run a little bit warmer when you have cold overnight temperatures. It's a little bit farther away from that snowpack. And, of course, when you have radiational cooling, it's colder near the ground. So a lower lying weather station, generally speaking, is going to run a little bit colder than something that is elevated. Officially at the airport, we hit 10 this morning. Look at New Philly, down to 2 this morning. Pittsburgh at 8. And Cleveland at 11. With the increase in cold weather lately, no surprise that we're finally seeing an appreciable amount of ice on Lake Erie. Now, all of this is still pretty thin, only a couple of inches, even at its thickest, out on the western end of Lake Erie, but this graphic is going to change a lot the next couple of weeks. It's been a very paltry go of it as far as ice is concerned the last 2 winters on the Great Lakes, but with the cold that's coming over the next couple of weeks, Lake Erie might go from about 15% ice cover to maybe 60 or 70% ice cover over the next 10 days to 2 weeks. All right, today was a decent day. We got into the middle 30s this afternoon, but a year ago it was a lot nicer. 58 degrees on this date. Last year, unfortunately, nothing like that is coming our way anytime real soon. The radar's starting to show some blue, but this is not reaching the ground just yet. We have dew points in the teens this evening, so some dry air in the lower levels of the atmosphere is causing the leading edge of this to evaporate before reaching the ground, but eventually that'll change. The atmosphere will become moist enough that we'll start to see some light snow breaking out this evening. Already, this has changed over to a kind of a rain, snow, sleet mix around the Columbus area. And yeah, we're going to get a quick little, maybe a little thump of snow this evening. It may snow at a decent clip for an hour or two, and it may lay down a half an inch to even an inch worth of snow in some places, but most of our treated surfaces are going to be mostly wet, with temperatures still hanging out mostly above freezing, and some raindrops will probably start to mix in as we head through the overnight. Cold front's heading our way. It's not hard to find this evening. We actually have a warm front pushing through as we speak. Temperatures will try to rise a little bit after kind of bottoming out this evening. They'll actually rise again for a few hours later on tonight. But then the cold front, which is right out here right now, it's going to barrel through at about daybreak tomorrow morning. All right, my wind chill graphic, the color table goes down to 60 below 0. I thought it was interesting today to show the wind chills up in northern Alaska. Dead Horse, Alaska, right along the Arctic Sea, the Arctic Ocean, minus 78. So off the color scale. That is some cold stuff, even by northern Alaska standards. Thankfully, very few people live up there. There are some people that live up there, but mostly it is oil workers and oil interests up in that part of Alaska. All right, so we get our snow and some mixed precipitation for a while. I think this will be steadiest late this evening, early in the overnight hours. Some raindrops then become the predominant precipitation type for a while. All of this is gone by daybreak tomorrow, but the problem is going to be temperatures are going to drop like a rock at midday tomorrow. So snow accumulation's nothing to write home about. Generally, I think an inch or less. Could someone try to get an inch and a half or 2, especially over in Mercer County where the snow might last a little longer? I can't rule that out, but I think it's a pretty small chance at this point. Again, tomorrow morning is what I'm a little more concerned about. So temperatures peak overnight in the mid-30s, but as we head towards daybreak, here comes the cold front. And already by 6 in the morning, it's dropping out of the 30s into the 20s, and by the time a lot of people are getting off to work and school, it'll be around 24, 25. So a pretty rapid cool down and a lot of wet and slushy surfaces as a result of some snow melt, some new snow accumulation, some raindrops. Everything's just going to kind of be mushy and wet tomorrow morning. So when you have a temperature drop like this, that could be a recipe for some problems, especially on traditionally colder surfaces such as bridges and overpasses. Roads generally lose heat evenly, but a bridge or an overpass, some cool air can get underneath that, so it's not as insulated as a traditional surface road, and so typically on those bridges you see the surface temperature dropping a lot more quickly than on the regular roads. And so Some of the usual bridges and overpasses that cause some problems when we have black ice situations or rapid freeze-ups, or even just a small amount of snow. If you've traveled around the Youngstown area, think of the 7-Eleven connector. That's a tricky spot. You're gonna have to watch for those kind of spots, I think, tomorrow morning. So tomorrow is just a cloudy day, and temperatures kind of settle in the mid-20s, and maybe late in the day, we start to see some flurries re-emerging. By about 7, 8, 9 o'clock, a little weak disturbance will push through. The wind gusts tomorrow, creating those nasty wind chills, will be between 30 and 40 miles per hour midday into the afternoon. Boy, it's going to be no fun outside tomorrow. A wind of 35 miles per hour, gusting at least 35, and air temperatures around 25. Yuck. No fun at all tomorrow afternoon. So it's no surprise that wind chills are going to look like this, generally single digits and lower teens. Best we can do for most of the day on Friday. All right, the weekend. Saturday's going to be a cold start, but a halfway decent day. The sun's going to be out most of the day. Now, a well-mixed atmosphere will create some more chilly wind gusts throughout the course of Saturday. So a little bit deceptive, the weather on Saturday. It's going to look nice. May even be bright and sunny for parts of the afternoon, but with temperatures in the 20s and still some gusts of maybe 20 or 25 miles per hour or so, that's still not a very fun day to be outside. All right, this week disturbance will gather some strength some as it goes towards the East Coast, and this could be a sneaky East Coast system for Sunday morning from Baltimore and D.C. up to Philly and New York City, where they just dealt with a huge amount of snow. For us, this isn't going to get its act together in time to bring us anything real appreciable, but a little light snow and flurries falling into air temperatures that are in the lower teens early Sunday morning. Every flake of this can stick pretty easily. So even though amounts are going to be pretty modest with this, probably under a couple of inches, probably even under an inch in a lot of spots, we're going to have to watch for some slick spots, I think, for Sunday morning. Here's a look at our computer model spread with that system. Everything's under an inch here with Sunday morning's snow, but with every flake of this having the possibility of sticking and making things a little bit slick. If you're heading off to services or anything else Sunday morning, just going to have to be on the lookout for some slick spots. All right, let's talk about next week's cold. I talked about this last evening on Weather for Weather Geeks. There were some changes to the modeling for early in the week as this kind of lobe of the polar vortex starts to come down. It meets some resistance. Initially, it looked like this thing was going to kind of dive bomb down into the Great Lakes. Now it's meeting up with a little resistance. There's a little bit of a flex going on from the ridge of high pressure that's over the Bahamas, and that's going to kind of deflect this initial cold shot a little bit, and enough that it's not going to be all that cold Monday and Tuesday. In fact, now I have a high of 32 in our forecast for Tuesday. But it's a delayed but not denied kind of a thing, because this thing's going to rotate back around, make another pass at things. It's not going to meet as much resistance, and boy, does it look cold now at the end of next week and into Valentine's weekend next weekend. So the initial surge of cold comes down the chute, down through the middle of the country, and kind of spares us at first. But then everything's going to start coming east as we go into the second half of next week. And look how much of the country is going to be enveloped by this cold air mass. We haven't seen this winter, and we barely saw it at all last winter as well. So the wind chills by the end of next week. Now, this is just one model, but this shows you what's on the table, at least, as a possibility. Nothing all that bad just yet by Wednesday and Thursday around here, but by Thursday night and Friday and into next weekend, it's going to get pretty bad, I think. Look at these wind chills out in the Midwest. How's 43 below in Des Moines, Iowa, 34 in Dubuque, 30 below in Chicago. For us, I think we'll spend some time below zero in terms of our wind chills at the end of next week, and this cold air mass does have some staying power. Now, the cold will probably not be as intense once we get past next weekend. Probably have at least a handful of days in a row with highs not much better than 20 at the end of next week into next weekend. The cold will probably be less intense after that, but still almost a lead pipe cinch at this point that east of the Mississippi especially, this is going to be a colder than average period coming up as we head towards Valentine's Day and into that second and third week of February. All right, so we've got a lot of wintry weather in front of us. I'll have you covered on future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks on my social media, on 21 News at 6 and 11, and on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Have a great night.